AITA for taking my daughter on a backstage visit that excluded her friends. I'm 34, female, a retired trapeze artist, and my daughter 6 is enrolled in circus school. She loves it so much that she asked to see a Cirque du Soleil show as a birthday present. My husband, 37, male, and I managed to get discount tickets to take her and 3 of her friends from circus school on a 2-hour drive to catch the nearest show. When I got there, I checked the company credits and noticed a friend of mine, an acrobat from Belgium, was one of the performers. I hadn't seen him in years and sent him a message on Instagram just to say I was in the audience with my daughter and excited to see him. He replied almost immediately and told me to look for a stage manager after the show so we could say hi, and I could take my daughter backstage. And so I did, since he only invited my daughter and I didn't mention in my short message there were 3 other girls plus my husband. And I couldn't impose taking a small party backstage. My husband waited with the girls for about 20 minutes after the show was over while we toured backstage. My daughter was so happy. Yet she kept talking about it on the way home, and that's when I realized the other girls could be feeling left out. What do you know? The same night one of the girls' mother called me to say her daughter came home crying because she didn't get to go backstage, and that it was very poor form on my part to invite them to a party, and to exclude them from one of the experiences. I tried to explain how things played out, but she kept being aggressive, until I finally lost it and told her she had no right to call me and try to reprimand me and should instead have a talk to her daughter about how to deal with such frustrations. My husband says I should not have instigated and that, in hindsight, I shouldn't have split the party. AITA. I feel like it was your daughter's birthday, so it's alright that she received special treatment. Your friend might not have wanted a group of people backstage, which is valid. I mean, you could have asked, but sometimes it's rude to ask for more when someone is already doing you a favor. Maybe you should have advised your daughter not to talk about it. However, the friend's mom calling you to yell at you is acting really entitled. She was going too far, considering it wasn't even a big deal. You can choose not to go at all, like your husband says, but I'd rather be a little selfish and go with my daughter to give her the best experience on her birthday than deny her the experience because her friends cannot come as well. Sometimes it's okay to prioritize your loved ones. So, I can understand where you're coming from. WIBTA for yelling at my spouse for leaving me alone in the car to hike. I got a minor medical procedure last week following a medical treatment involving lots of meds with hefty side effects. I'm not on the meds anymore, but the side effects are pretty terrible. The side effects and healing process from the procedure are at their worst yesterday and today. I'm not supposed to do anything strenuous, including hiking, kicking, jumping, or running for 2 weeks. My in-laws came into town for a week and we haven't seen them in 9 months. My spouse booked a reservation for a tour at a national park a few months ago, not knowing I would be undergoing this medical treatment. I didn't really want to go, but my spouse insisted I should come along and that all the activities would be something I could do. The activities discussed were a quick stop for pictures at National Park A, sightsee around town, go to hotel and spend the night, check out of hotel, tour at National Park B, go home. On the 3-hour car ride to the town with the national park, my spouse suddenly decided to stop by an additional national park to hike. This is a national park we hiked at previously last year. I was not feeling well. They went to hike while I waited in the car. I was annoyed, but it wasn't a big deal. After we got to the hotel, we didn't end up sightseeing in the town. Today, after checking out of the hotel, we went on the tour. It involved hiking 3 miles downhill mostly. I wasn't aware that the tour would be this strenuous. I tried to insist we do the easier tour, which was half as long and mostly flat, but my spouse wasn't having it. I was mostly fine but in pain towards the end. To my surprise, my spouse suddenly decides to go on another hike at the national park from yesterday. It's a 4-mile hike. I'm in too much pain from the 3-mile hike I wasn't supposed to do in the first place today. I say I don't think it's fair to ditch me in the car alone like this. They all leave anyway. I'm currently alone in the car by myself and shocked I have signal. I'm pissed and I don't think I plan on talking to them the rest of the day. I'm tempted to just take the car and drive off. I feel like it's extremely selfish to ditch me here at a park only a couple hours away from home, which we've all been to before, not just yesterday, but previously when I was able to hike. WIBTA for starting an argument when they get back. Update, I didn't yell, but I did send a terse text message. I'm definitely upset. I was under the impression this trip would be something I could physically handle. Had I known all everyone wanted to do is hike, I would have stayed home like I wanted to in the first place. I plan on having words with my spouse in private later. Update 2, I'm fine. I feel like a lot of people are overreacting a little bit, but this is the internet, so oh well. The procedure I had was minor. We actually are encouraged to be out walking during this time. I was advised to go to the ER if I experience any specific symptoms of a life-threatening complication or sign of an activity-related injury. Both are extremely rare. Both of those have very specific symptoms. I am experiencing none of these. I've also had major surgeries in the past and am in no way experiencing the pain I had with those. I do know my limits and knew I hit it earlier in the day and expressed that when we left the tour. I love my spouse. Typically they are amazing, but we're both under a lot of stress and have a lot going on right now. It's also probably hard to remember that even though I'm mostly okay and able to resume most normal everyday activities, it's easy to forget I'm in recovery. I haven't laid into my spouse yet, but they sprinted back down the mountain and were really apologetic after I sent the text message, which said, "I just want you to know that I would never leave you alone like this, not even once, and you've ditched me and left me alone and not feeling well in this car twice in the last 24 hours. And responded with twice after any responses they sent back. I've been relatively short on my responses to them the rest of the night. I don't have it in me to yell at my in-laws, and this isn't on them. They actually detested the second hike because I voiced I wasn't in any shape to do anything else that day, but my spouse insisted. I was too tired to get crazy. I went to bed after I got home because I was understandably tired. I'll ask them WTF they were thinking tomorrow." Update number 3, we talked about it, and after bringing up all relevant points in communication, my spouse seems to feel really remorseful. They apologized a lot and said they realized they were being selfish and not putting 2 plus 2 together. They also agreed that this truly wasn't a good week for the in-laws to come out. It hasn't been that great for a multitude of reasons. TBH, all the reasons why I said it wasn't a good time in the first place, and they feel like this week in general has been bad for everyone involved. I originally said it wasn't a good time, but it hasn't been a good time for the last 3 times my spouse has wanted them to come out. There was a death in the family recently, and there was a lot of FOMO because nobody is getting younger driving this. There was some really bad news that devastated us earlier this week, and I wasn't in any shape to entertain my in-laws. My spouse was desperate to try to make up the bad start of the week to them by trying to make good family memories and was so fixated on this, my recovery fell to the wayside. Hopefully next time they come out it will be a lot better. We'll have time to be on the same page about all the plans, and everyone will physically and mentally be in good enough spirits to do all the things. Most importantly, we came to an agreement that we aren't going to do anything strenuous until I'm done recovering, including walks that are actually hiking. Sorry to disappoint, Reddit, but I don't think divorce paperwork will be filed. Opus's husband was really inconsiderate and thoughtless, especially since Opus wasn't feeling well and had just had surgery. This is a time when you feel the most vulnerable. I can't believe that he left you not once but twice in the same day alone in the car like that. What was he thinking? However, as you mentioned, he's usually wonderful most of the time, so sometimes these things happen. We're all humans and make mistakes once in a while. It's good that you guys talked it all out. Hopefully, your husband learned from his mistake and won't do it again. AITA for telling my infertile in-laws that their dog is not equal to a child. 2 years ago, my husband 34 and I 33 became pregnant. This was huge for us, as we both have always been really passionate about becoming parents. Before we could tell anyone, my husband's brother 35 and his wife 38 told the family that they had been trying to conceive but found out they couldn't. Apparently my SIL feared this due to past medical problems, but now it was confirmed by doctors. They were devastated, and we were heartbroken for them. My husband and I decided to hold off on announcing. We waited 3 months, but then I was starting to show and we no choice. A week after we announced, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law adopted a dog named Bella. Immediately she was all they talked about and they refused to go anywhere without her. We used to be close, but this has ruined our relationships with them. My husband and his brother don't hang out anymore because my brother-in-law is so obsessed with Bella that he's hard to talk to. Brother-in-law has lost friends over this obsession, and sister-in-law has quit her job so she doesn't have to spend any time away from the dog. We even stopped our weekly family dinners because Bella barks nonstop, pulls food off the table, bites, etc. She's a nightmare. Plus my husband is allergic and can't be around her for longer than an hour anyway. Brother-in-law and sister-in-law call Bella the first grandchild or the first last name girl. There hasn't been a girl born into the family in 5 generations, which bothers me because my daughter is those things, not the dog. They think my daughter and their dog should be treated equally, and get upset when they are not. Even when I gave birth and people were reaching out to check on me and my daughter, they sulked and made a long post on Facebook saying they were hurt no one had done the same for them when they adopted their dog. I've been biting my tongue about it for over a year because I know that they are coping with an extremely painful situation, but this week I finally snapped. Recently, a relative invited us and baby to their wedding, but told my in-laws explicitly not to bring Bella. On Sunday, as my husband and I were just about to leave his parents' house, I heard brother-in-law say that if his dog wasn't invited, then my daughter shouldn't be either. Why should they get to bring her if we can't bring Bella? They say things like that all the time, but this time I finally snapped and said, because Bella is a dog, and my daughter is an actual human baby. My child and your pet are not the same. We left, but later my brother-in-law called my husband to say that I had really hurt them and made my sister-in-law cry. My husband says that I shouldn't have said anything and should take it back. I know their dog is like their child, and I don't mean to be cruel or insensitive, but I am also so tired of hearing them compare my daughter to a dog, and I don't want her to grow up around people who think she is equal to a poorly behaved animal. AITA. I don't blame you. Enough is enough, everyone has their breaking point. What they've been doing so far is really offensive. Everyone needs to stop enabling their behavior and encourage them to seek the help they need because what they're doing is not healthy. It's damaging relationships, and your sister-in-law even quit her job. They need therapy immediately. I know this is their way of coping with infertility, but it isn't a healthy approach. They're taking it too far. Honestly, therapy never hurts anyone. I know I need it too, but it's so expensive. I don't know how people can afford it, but if you can, do it because we all need therapy in these times. AITA for telling my husband I didn't want to use the bath mats his parents gave us 10 years ago anymore. We recently renovated our bathrooms and I thought the bath mats needed an upgrade to match. My husband was really upset and said what's wrong with the old mats. So I responded that they are 10 years old and furthermore I didn't even pick them out. They were a gift from his parents. He was livid and said that I was being super rude and offensive and that he was going to give them back to his parents saying I'm ungrateful. Then he started to berate my parents saying that he's going to tell them how much he doesn't like their gifts. I was caught off guard BC. I really didn't mean to insult his parents. I was simply making the point that they weren't something I had picked out. Plus that was 4 bathrooms ago and they don't match our current place even putting aside the fact that they're 10 years old. He's been giving me the silent treatment since last night and told me to do the kids' drop-offs and pick-ups myself this week. He also angrily tossed and turned yesterday shouting that he's so mad he can't sleep. I tried to be calm and said I apologized and didn't mean any insults and that I am still learning his trigger points, and can he please consider that he misinterpreted. He got even more mad and told me to get off my high horse. Is this a gross overreaction or was my comment really offensive? For context, he is very frugal and doesn't like to spend money on anything, so sometimes I will just make purchases anyway if I think it's too much and worth the argument after. I think you're avoiding the real problem here. The bathroom mat is the least of your concerns. Deep down, you probably already know that this isn't the main issue you have with your husband. I'm not an expert, and this is above my pay grade, but it's highly likely that you're in an emotionally abusive relationship. So, no, you're definitely not the jerk here. However, you need to consider leaving your husband because if you continue to stay in this marriage, you're being unkind to yourself and your kids. I understand it may sound typical for someone on the internet to suggest a divorce, but in situations like this, it might be the best option. It's tough, but you can do it.